right, guys, welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand, where we help CEOs and founders get on top-rated podcasts. Check out our book, bestpodcastbook.com. I think you guys would really like this. Anyway, so I want to talk to a very special guest speaker who I love to talk about. She has a very interesting subject, which I'm always fascinated and curious about, because I think today's age, people have, I was watching something on YouTube the other day, and it was kind of interesting about mental health and how mental health just really is becoming like not the thing that people are trying to handle, but just kind of coping with the problems that we have. So I'll introduce you guys to Miriam. Miriam, thanks for joining the show.
Josh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So I guess for people that don't know who you are and just kind of get one a little bit about yourself, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then also why you started what you started today?
Well, all right. So I'm from Florida originally, grew up in California for quite some time. And a little bit about me is that I come from a pretty interesting background, being the great-granddaughter of Amelia Earhart, and Corella Crowns and Putnam Publishing was founded in my family. So I grew up with a bit of privilege, I guess you can say. And I am on your show today to talk about mental health, specifically mental health advocacy, because I have been a mental health advocate for about 25 years. I got into that because my mom was diagnosed with many different mental illnesses and was in almost about 20 hospitals. So I poured my heart and soul into finding a solution. And now that is what I do, is I help introduce people to holistic mental health solutions and a way to get a freedom from stress in their life.
Wow. And so what made you have this passion to, go into the mental health industry? Because I know it's kind of like a lot of people are skeptical about it, and they're like, and I kind of mentioned earlier before, like people go on YouTube and they're kind of like learning the ways to cope with their mental stress or mental problems that they kind of go through. I would love to get your feedback on that.
Sorry, I don't totally understand the question. Like, what made me want to go into it?
Yeah, like what gave you that passion? Like, I want to go into mental health. Like, why did you want to go that in the first place? Why was that your route?
Well, just watching my mom go through the struggles that she did and hearing the really confusing and conflicting information from doctors for like about 15 years or so. And I was the person that was constantly researching holistic mental health modalities between like doctors or non-drug therapists. And I was looking for a mentor because I don't know, it's hard to explain the heart-wrenching situation and experience of watching somebody that you love so much be forced to take medication and be put in mental hospitals and not want that experience. So I became pretty dedicated young on how do we, help this situation? How do we make it better? Where are the real solutions? So yeah, like through just, I guess, hard knock life and and like, going through some pretty traumatic experiences. And when you love someone so much and you want to help that person so much, and each way you turn doesn't seem like there's a really great solution. I just decided a long time ago that I just wasn't going to give up until I found it. I just had this certainty inside myself that there had to be a way.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of funny is like, I've encountered a lot of people, especially in the New York City area, where everyone's just so like inundated with all the, the medications for mental health, and that this is the way you have to do it. And, for you as a person who advocates a lot of, different healing and just really getting the body and the minds really in tip-top shape. What do you think is missing in the current mental health system? Because I feel like there's something missing or something going on there that could be changed. What do you think that should be changed or is missing?
Yeah, so I work with a few different doctors that are holistic, integrative, and functional doctors. And these doctors will, they keep in mind the balance of a body, mind, and soul. And there is a certain awareness within these professionals that the body has a root cause, like a an underlying health condition going on in the body. So they're 100% committed to finding what's going on, like whether it is a uh, toxic chemical that is, in like very high levels in the body. Maybe the liver is having a hard time. Maybe there's a B vitamin deficiency. Maybe the person is, deathly allergic to something that they're eating. There could be so many different things that are happening in the body. Just because, like how we are all individuals, like our body reacts the same way. So from my viewpoint, I look at the mental health system and also surviving quite a lot in it. I see that the medications are very fast. Like the doctors write prescriptions pretty fast, and I don't mean to like say anything against that. I think that they're like, they've been trained in medical school to do that. But the course that I did, it goes over sort of how doctors aren't necessarily mind doctors, like they're not trained in like the mechanics of the mind. And I'm not totally opposed to medication. I mean, if somebody has to have a medication to be able to sleep for a little bit, fine. It's just when we get into the long-term usage and the dangerous situation that creates for the body, mind, and soul. So overall, I advocate for a blood test, like an actual real blood test, and 100% dedication to finding what's going on in the body and not getting on a medication that has harmful effects for 30, 50 years. Because at this point in time, we don't have long-term studies done.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious too, because I know a lot of people, are not familiar with their body at all. Like they just kind of they accept things. And I'm sure you've had experience where people are just like, oh, like, I don't know what's wrong with my body. How do I fix it? And they kind of go, here, take all this and fix it. And it's kind of like, okay, so it's kind of like people are not actually educated enough, I find, about the body and like what they need to do. Like, what do you find, like in terms of education? Because I know a lot of people will love to know why people should take this, why should they take that, right? Is there any like piece of like thing that in terms of education that you can give to people who are listening that would be helpful for them in order to, regulate and also help them in the body?
So you bring up a really good point. And I understand what you're saying because I've talked to a lot of different people about that. Yeah. And I work with doctors in sort of being the liaison between the person who is seeking the medical advice, because I'm a certified wellness coach.
Right.
And so, but since I coach people on always helping them make a self-determined decision, I will go over different websites with them and help them come to their own understanding and their own sort of decision and how they would like to address their knee pain, for example. Like I was coaching somebody just the other day and he was like, God, am I going to have surgery? And I was, well, let's look into red light and what does near infrared light do for the body and how does it decrease inflammation and how does it actually decrease pain? So overall, I just break it down into 3 different things. Well, I mean, there is 4 because there's a blood test. It's a blood test to find out what's going on in the body. And then there's 3 main pillars: exercise, nutrition, and sleep. So, overall, it's just improving those 3 different categories and trying your best to find natural solutions.
Right. No, that makes sense too. And I know too that you've released some, like I believe it's a stress course or some type of class that you can kind of give people knowledge about how to handle certain things. I would love to hear also too, would you be able to share some of some of the few workable things that like could be natural solutions and also help balance, like the human body, the soul, the mind? I know a lot of people would love to know how to do that.
Yeah, right. It's like the hidden gems, like the secrets of having life balance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The course is called Freedom from Stress course. And I just go over body health, mind health, and soul health. And body health, which we already talked about, obviously, getting the test, finding out what's really going on in the body, and making policies on how the person would like to eat, the nutrition, right? Like whatever's true for them is going to be true for them. Exercise. If they're not exercising at all, like can they pick a day a week or when can they do that? right? And sleep, are they getting good sleep or are they not? Like, does it need to be handled, right? It's all different per each person. And then for mind health, I go over a little tip that is called exercising your mind muscle. So just like people go to the gym to work out, I teach my clients this tip of exercising their mind muscle and the fact that the mind is not in the brain. So this is quite a big concept for people to start wrapping their heads around. But then there's just this tip on thinking about happy times in one's life and purposely putting your attention on those things so that you have a way of controlling the channels in your mind, kind of.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Makes it easier for people to manifest their reality they're going for. And then for soul health, it is on finding out if somebody has any sort of energy vampires in their life and, what they can do about that.
Right. And it's interesting too, because I love the fact that you have these workable tools that actually help people get to know themselves better, but also like get to know how they can help their own body, the mind, the soul. Like really, I think that's all very important because I think that if you can't control those things, then it's kind of like, how can you live life without controlling those and actually understanding them?
Right. I mean, we like literally don't get much life balance until we realize that there are 3 different distinct parts and that there are health within all 3 of them, body, mind, and soul. And I mean, it's just because I lived the hard knock life and had to read and study applied philosophy and different religions and talk to doctors and read and websites and just try to figure out like how can we, bring this information to the masses and help somebody where they're at with all this conflicting data, because that was my experience, Josh, when I was younger with my mom in and out of hospitals. Like, where is the truth and how do I find the truth and what do I do about it? And, so yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I guess for you, because you're a coach and you obviously have a lot of stable things in life that you kind of go off of, and like these are the stable points in, mental health, body, soul, mind, right? And I know a lot of people when they go looking for things, it's kind of like what's hard for them is they're trying to isolate exactly what's the truth and what's not the truth, or what's real, what's not real. You know what I mean? And I know, like, especially now that we live in a digital age where like people are looking up things, looking up YouTube videos. And I was just, earlier I was kind of mentioning there was a YouTube video I was watching the other day. It was kind of like how people deal with mental stress. And I think a lot of people with mental health specifically, there's like this like way that people handle it was like, let's give drugs to suppress the actual mental, but they actually not dealing with the actual problem, So like for you, where do you find is like the where do you find how do you know if something is true or false? Or how do you know what's right and what's wrong in terms of the mental health industry? Because I know there's a lot of mixed opinions and a lot of mixed things about it.
Well, I mean, that gets me into the free gift that I was going to give your listeners today. And so what I did is I actually created a PDF, like a free downloadable PDF that gives specific links where somebody can go and find the truth on mental health. Like, what is this chemical imbalance? Like, is there actually a test? And what I found out is there's not actually any scientific data on somebody having bipolar, schizophrenia, personality disorder. And so anyway, I give the links to those nonprofits. Like, there's a nonprofit called mindfreedom.org that works on mental health, getting the truth out about mental health. And there's an organization called Citizens Commission on Human Rights that I volunteer for a lot with my human rights work and mental health.
Yeah.
And that gives a holistic center in Arizona where somebody can actually go and see integrative functional holistic doctors to get off of psychiatric drugs, if that is something that the person chooses to do. Mm-hmm. So I think I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. That's okay. Good. I like that. Yeah. So, and also too, like people, I think also too is, for people who like don't know this stuff, like also people, I think kind of go to the psychiatric medication because like they think that's the only solution to actually handle the mental issues. Like they have everyone has
their
mental
life is
issues,
hard. They
Yeah.
go to like, like something happens in life that's excruciating, that's terribly depressing, losing a loved one, losing a job, going through extreme marital difficulties, financial issues. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? I mean, life can throw like extremely tough situations at us. And then, your body goes out of whack, your mind goes all out of whack, and you feel like you're not even in control at all anymore. And drugs gives a temporary relief or solution, which I totally understand. But the long-term usage creates, quite a lot of problems for somebody, and they can. But I mean, it is the person's choice, right? I mean, it's the person's choice if they choose to do that or if they choose not to do that. Right. I'm not a medical doctor, right? So I'm not like going to be telling somebody to do that. But, I think it's important for people to have access to the truth. And I had such a hard time growing up looking for it. And there was so much confusing information. And then, many doctors that I talked to over those years and like the psychiatrists that were treating my mom would tell me that if she didn't take these harmful medications, that she was going to die, that she would kill herself. And those were like extremely tough years for me and my family, like watching her cry her eyes out and not want to take the medication and not want to go to the hospital. And then me looking for the information and trying to figure out what else is there? What else can we do? Like, what else is there?
Right.
So I just really envision giving people information for them to help themselves and be able to reach their own conclusions and, feel better.
Yeah, I think that's important too, because I think at the end of the day, the person has to decide for himself what the right route is to go. And I think once they're properly educated, then they kind of know what to do, what not to do. You know what I mean? So I think that's so important. I think it's vital that people should just know how mental health works, but also what you're going through is not just some ordinary thing,
Yeah, right. And I mean, the bad time period, so to speak, could be 1 month. It could be 2 years. I mean, it's going to be different for each person. And another big thing that I focus on with the people that I choose to help and like get into the real freedom from stress programs is that it's their responsibility to be their own advocate. So just because somebody tells me that, okay, Miriam, you have bipolar, it's up to me to figure out if that is true or not. I don't have to agree with the diagnosis. I can like look into it and, really investigate it to find out how does it sit well with does it sit well with me? Does it not? Like, is there another way? Is there not? Or, Miriam, you are going to, you're going to have to go through serious cancer treatment and this is the only way you can do it. Well, okay, what do other people say about that? And what do other doctors say about it? And do I know anybody that's gone through a treatment successfully or not? I don't know, just like taking responsibility for, your life and where is it going and which route am I going to choose?
Yeah. I think it's funny too, is that people, at least from my experience that I've dealt with, because I used to go to public school and, I remember that when I think I was in school and they were just kind of evaluating for me and just like, you have ADD. I was like, I never questioned it. And I think a lot of people today still don't question it, especially when you have a doctor like that who just tell you what's going on rather than actually explain or like, find the truth for yourself of what if this is actually true for me. People just kind of blindly accept it without actually looking at the data.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's my Achilles heel right there is when you start talking about children that are being medicated and diagnosed. I do a lot of advocacy in the area of children, namely with the campaign Fight for Kids campaign.
Yeah.
And I'm also a guardian ad litem for the court system. And so I've done a lot of calls and advocacy on how to help kids that are in that situation. So yes, you are so right, because it can be pretty damaging for a kid to feel like they have this diagnoses or, evaluation or whatever, however you want to call it. And then that is sort of labels them for the rest of their life. And I believe the statistic is around 75, 80%, or if a child is given psychiatric medication when they're young, they turn to harder drugs when they're older.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's very fascinating. It's like really wild to me how just people just give those things without actually questioning them. And I like to look at those and I'm like, okay, well, what can we do about it instead? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking like the children's brains don't even develop until I think it's like 24, 25 years old. So
yeah,
we got to think about like what we're putting in our future generations' bodies. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
That's interesting. And I guess for you, because you've obviously you've had a lot of clients and a lot of people you've dealt with in this whole improving mental health aspect. Is there anything you could recommend that's most effective in terms of practicing that you do with your clients?
It probably would be the exercise point and just taking a walk. So when I'm helping somebody or I'm talking to one of my clients, I'll be on the phone with them or walk them through it one time with this like exercising your mind muscle thing. So it's very easy to do if somebody walks and is actually, not on their phone, right? You have to like not be looking at your phone because then taking a walk is not really that beneficial. And so it's taking a walk, but actually look at the building and notice the building. Like notice that it has a red door or notice that it has a blue door, and look at the tree and notice what kind of tree it is. Look at the person walking beside you. What kind of clothes are they wearing? Look at the bird in the sky. Look at the trees again. Look at the sidewalk, and like really get your attention on your environment so that you are actually consciously, like with the conscious part of the mind, controlling your attention and putting your attention on like a specific channel, like meaning what is in front of you and in your environment so that you can purposely decrease the stress level. And like continue to walk and continue to do that until the soul is back better in control of your body. And you can then look at the problem or look at the exact stress and then work out a plan to execute. Because a lot of times what ends up happening with people is that they get like it's very frustrating and it's stressful, and I totally understand that. And then we pick up the phone and then we're screaming at somebody we shouldn't be screaming at. Then we kind of compile stress on top of stress and make the situation not so much better if we're not like in the right state of mind. So it's sort of like resetting your mindset, so to speak, and getting space and putting your attention or their attention or my attention, because I'm a certified wellness coach, but I follow what I preach, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, just have healthy habits in place. And it's not so easy, right, to start a new habit. It takes like 1 to 3 weeks of repetition, but then like really actually using discipline to get that in there. And so I would say taking a walk is a huge one. And I don't mind if it's around the building, if it's just around the block.
Right.
Or if it's a mile, if it's 2 miles. If a person calms down in 1 minute, fine, they calm down in 1 minute, but it could take 45 minutes.
Right. And so for you, right, you have a lot of people out here in the world who are just are kind of stuck. I think you kind of answered this before, but there's a lot of people who feel stuck in the, the traditional, mental health system, or themselves feeling like a little overwhelmed and like, I don't know what to do. I'm struggling. Like, how do you guide people to find, to go toward, natural healing rather than the original mental health system? How do you guide people toward that direction?
Well, I mean, by putting together this PDF, like that we're going to give away to your callers today, like so that, because I mean, it's not necessarily up to me, right? I mean, somebody has to choose their own destiny, right? They're like the creators of their future. So really getting, doing their research and, visiting the nonprofits that exist that get the truth out there on how is the manual produced, like meaning like how are the disorders produced, And, like, what does it mean? And like, if that's true, then what does that mean for me? And like really evaluating the information on their own. Like, I don't mean to sound like insensitive about it, because I'm totally not. My heart goes out to each and every one of them, and why I'm so dedicated to changing or helping, not necessarily changing, but improving the current mental health system for kids, namely, but then also for um, people that are in our age bracket or older. Like, so if something happens where somebody gets really sick, maybe they have Lyme's disease. I mean, I barely survived Lyme's disease and had to go through a lot of really tough experiences to figure out like which wellness modalities are going to work. But like, so if somebody has like a really tough body health situation, or even they have a tough, stressful situation, like, I don't know, maybe they have a tough relationship, they lose their job, there's money issues, and then next thing you know, they can't get out of bed and they're crying, and the only solution that they know is to go to a mental hospital. Okay, well, they go to a mental hospital, but then what happens next? Like, I would love to help society get in the policy where it makes it law so that somebody has to get a good blood test before they're medicated.
Mm,
So like
interesting.
really find out, like, do they have bacteria or viruses going on in their body? Is there some toxic level happening in their body, like, that's causing these um um you know anxiety, or causing this depression, or causing this delirium, like not able to see straight? Like, put a blood test so we can actually help the health of the body. It'd be amazing if there were uh intravenous vitamin drips in mental hospitals, and hospitals even, for that matter. I mean, where
Mm,
like like somebody gets vitamin C, B vitamins, minerals, like all the things that the body needs to improve the health. So I would love, I am going to love to help society with that.
nice. That's awesome. Well, I love those stories that you kind of gave. That's kind of really interesting. I'm just on the how those things actually affect people. And I think what you gave was really important. I would also love to hear like stories that you've helped people like with mental health. I'm just so curious what people went through. And, like, you obviously don't have to give names, but I love to hear people that you've helped with all this stuff.
Well, I have helped a few different people successfully get off of their medications with their doctors. Obviously, a doctor has to be on board to be able to decrease the medication and be on board with that. And then, so to be with a person through having extreme anxiety, and then helping them to the other side of that, where then they feel like actually freedom from that specific stress, right? Because all of us have different stress in many different areas. It could be, you know, anxiety about leaving their house. I mean, it could be anxiety about driving. Like, I don't really know exactly, right? But helping somebody from the point of getting through that and getting to the other side and being able to like breathe better, feel like their life is more balanced, and they actually are on the path that they envisioned for this,
Mm,
envision this time around. I don't
interesting.
know, like, I've helped people with difficult relationship issues, and coaching them through that and finding a solution to resolve the arguing. And, just to see like the happiness on the other side of the stress, and to know that I was able to effectively help. I don't know. It's just what I live for.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think it's amazing work that you do that actually helps people really see how mental health is actually a good thing. And it's not like it doesn't have to involve medications and like just other stuff. So I think
Yeah,
appreciate
right.
that.
Like mental health is totally different from the symptom of mental illness, right? Because really we're talking about a symptom. And in society right now we have there's like this fixed idea that mental health is associated with taking a medication. It's not necessarily true. It is a body health issue baseline, and then overall it's learning different techniques to navigate life and improve life, because most people would like their life to get better in some way.
Totally. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate the time you've given us to really ask you these burning questions of like how the mental health system is and just your take on it. Cause I'm always fascinated by this area because I think it's just a totally misunderstood area. And I think people, find the wrong information and just can't find where to actually look for this stuff. So I really appreciate the time you've given, just for this interview on why this is so important, And I would love to also for people to connect with you and really get to know you better. I know you had a gift that you kind of mentioned earlier, but I love for you to take away on that. So like, what was the gift?
Yeah, it's mentalhealthwellnessjourney.com. Mentalhealthwellnessjourney.com. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me, they can get in touch with me through there, respond, and I will get back with them.
Awesome. Well, Maryam, I really appreciate the time you've given us, and I love, the questions that you answered for. And I think a lot of people also appreciate what you had to say about what mental health is. So I really thank you for the time for having you on the show, and really loves having you.
Well, I appreciate you on the show as well, Josh.
Yeah.
It was awesome. You're absolutely fantastic, and I really feel your intentions of wanting to help and being like this beacon of light to communicate and bring truth to people. And I really appreciate you helping me fulfill my mission in the fact that I'd like people to be able to find the truth.
Yeah, so do I. And I love to help you with that mission. So I really appreciate it. And of course, I thank everyone here for listening to this. If you guys like this stuff, please like and subscribe. And, Maryam, it was an honor to talking to you.
It was such an honor to be here with you as well.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you so much, Josh.